this is a good time to get into the topic of advanced manufacturing, and if you think advanced manufacturing should be brought back to the US or not, and if so, how do we bring it back? What do you think?
Should it be brought back? Absolutely. If nothing more than for a strategic safety factor to it, of having too much of the things that you depend on being entirely produced somewhere else, to where if things change internationally, that could present a huge challenge for your populace.
Yeah.
I don't think that's ever really a good idea. In some ways, like, it can make sense to have things distributed and have those options in place. But I think we went way too far on the low cost at all cost approach. And we're starting to see the negative effects of that, especially like when you look at producing things over in China. In the last, was it 10 years, labor cost there has gone up 16-fold or something, as they go from being kind of a lower income to more of a medium income country. They kind of expect that increased standard of living, which comes with more cost. And the problem is how we've set everything up is relying entirely on cheap labor, to where you now see companies moving to either Vietnam or other places that still haven't fully developed, or even Mexico to some extent, which that one is a much better option than going across an ocean, just because we have pretty good relationships with Mexico. They're right next door and offer a lot of benefits on that side. But I think we need to be bringing back as much as we can. One, just like I said, for strategic, I think it's just a good idea. But also it gives us back control of our own destiny and what gets produced. Now, the problem is we don't really have cheap labor here anymore, which means that if we're going to do it, we need to do it in a way that takes the maximum advantage of what we do have, which is high-skilled, high-capability labor, to where you have a smaller number of people managing a highly automated and autonomous process, as opposed to having a whole lot of people doing all those individual steps manually by hand.
Bring back advanced manufacturing by leveraging advanced capabilities, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. And one of the things too that, like, Tesla learned this the hard way, is that you kind of have to do it in a very smart way, which usually means doing it the non-advanced autonomous way first, seeing how it actually works, identifying the low-hanging fruit that's easiest to start to automate, and then you start there and start figuring out how to do each one of those steps. Because they went through and built out their new factories when they started building these, and had just everything was robots. All of it was robots. And then they ended up ripping out most of it and putting people in, because the robots actually weren't good enough to do every task. So they were like, okay, we got to have people back in. And then they started seeing how people and what tasks were being done, and started identifying, like, oh, we can automate this bit here and this bit here and this bit here, and start figuring out this one here and this one here. And as the technology progressed, it made sense to incorporate back in automation in specific areas. And that's kind of how we're going to have to do it to really get to large scale back here in the US, is because people just, like, we don't have cheap labor here, so we have to get creative on how we actually build things.
Yeah. So, but leveraging, I mean, I don't want to talk about getting to the topic of AI or all that stuff, but leveraging advanced capabilities means using a very limited part of the workforce. So it doesn't bring back jobs necessarily, and to the extent that most bring back jobs to America type people would want, right? All you're solving with that is the safety factor, like you said, or, returning in the United States to the manufacturing powerhouse status, right?
Ideally, one of the things that I always kind of push back on that idea, that it doesn't bring back those jobs. Like, yes, it doesn't, but those jobs aren't here right now anyways. So it's not like, it isn't a net negative. It's not like bringing back manufacturing in a highly autonomous way to the U.S. is getting rid of jobs that currently exist. Yeah. Those jobs don't currently exist. You're bringing new jobs that do, and yeah, they are targeted at much higher skill, higher educated workers, but that's still better than nothing. because the only other option would basically be trying to do some sort of artificially funded make work program of forcing to use lower skilled labor but still paying them at what Americans expect to be making, which means the products are no longer going to be profitable because they would cost more than those same Americans would pay for them.
Yeah.
Which means that it's entirely an unsustainable thing. So that's how I've always thought about that like even the facilities that we had in mind, like a lot of people would kind of bring that up too, like, oh, you're only going to have like a handful of people working there. That's not really moving the needle on bringing back manufacturing jobs. I'm like, that's still better than nothing.
Yeah,
like those handful of ones are really good, high-paying jobs that aren't there now. And it's not like they're replacing jobs that are there now.
Yeah, true. And it's easy to forget the fact that some dead support industries will probably come back to life, right?
Ideally, yeah.
Real estate, agro, food, whatever. Things that support manufacturing industry will come back to life. And those may require low-skilled labor, right? So yeah, I agree.